If you're applying to residency through ERAS or CaRMS, you need to use the information in your Residency CV to complete your residency application. Knowing exactly what to include in your Residency CV can be challenging, and if your CV isn't put together correctly and doesn't demonstrate what makes you unique as a candidate, residency directors won't be convinced that you're a suitable match for their program. In today's video, I'll tell you exactly how to write a CV for residency, tell you which sections to include, and at the end of this video, I'll provide you with an example of a CV for residency so you can begin creating your own. Before we begin, hi, I'm Nadine Evans, an Admissions Associate at BeMo Academic Consulting. Make sure you subscribe now on whatever social media channel you're watching this from so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. If you'd like us to help you with your residency application, click on the link either above or below this video to schedule your free initial consultation. I just want to quickly mention that you can check out the timestamps in the description of this video if you're looking to navigate quickly to specific sections throughout the video. So what is the purpose of a CV for residency? Well, a CV for residency is an important document that is used to highlight your experience and training in a succinct, easy to understand format. You'll use the information in your CV to fill out either the ERAS or CaRMS residency application. The main goal of a CV for residency is to showcase your most significant academic and extracurricular achievements, leaving a lasting, positive first impression to those who review it. Essentially, your CV should convince residency directors that you're exactly what they're looking for and are a strong match for their residency program. Not only is having an up-to-date CV important for applying to residency and crafting your personal statement, but it's also important for filling out rotation applications and when you're securing letters of recommendation from physicians. So let's talk a little bit about the format of a residency CV. So this should typically be between 3 to 5 pages in length and should utilize bullet points instead of complete sentences. The object of your CV is to get the most important information across in a clear manner so it can be easily digested by program directors. This means that long sentences and paragraphs are not suitable. Normally, 2 to 5 bullet points is suitable for each entry, and it's a good idea to begin each bullet with an action verb. So for example, instead of writing, "I was one of 2 individuals who participated in the development of obstetric policies," in one bullet point, simply write, "assisted in developing obstetric policies." Ensure that the formatting of your CV is consistent throughout. So for example, use bold and italics to highlight sections and positions, maintain your indent, font, and spacing throughout. Your residency CV is not the time to get creative and try experimenting with different colors, pictures, or font types. Stick with traditional fonts such as Times New Roman or Calibri and keep text black in 11 or 12 point size. It's also a good idea to include your name and page number at the bottom of each page of your CV. Without this information, you risk your CV becoming jumbled with other CVs and important information being lost. When you save your CV, make sure you title it appropriately with your first and last name instead of just calling it CV. Organization is key. You want your CV to be easily identifiable both electronically and on paper. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, your CV must be free from spelling mistakes and grammatical errors. It's a good idea to have your CV professionally reviewed by a reputable medical school admissions consulting company to ensure that your CV and application stand out. So let's discuss which items to include. Medical students often struggle with what they should include in their CV for residency and what activities or experiences they should leave out. From high school to undergraduate to medical school, you've likely gained a lot of valuable experiences and have many accomplishments to boot. But just because you have a lot of items you could include in your CV doesn't mean that you should include them all. Your main goal is to think about which experiences are most relevant to the residency position that you're applying to and what items will make you unique among other candidates. If you find yourself unsure if you should include something, think about if and how it will benefit you to include it. Is this an essential piece of information that will help you get selected for an interview? Put yourself in the residency director's shoes. If you were them and read about this experience, would you find it relevant to the position? Would you be interested in learning more? If the answer is no, then it's best to not include this experience. So now I want to talk about the sections that you should include in your CV for residency. The hierarchy of categories in a residency CV can vary from one individual to the next, but in general, your personal information, education, clinical experience, and research experience should be at the top, as these are the most relevant sections. So here are the most important sections you should include. Number 1 is your personal information. So the personal information section is standard in every CV and should be included at the top or as a header so that it's easily identifiable. This section should include the following information: your first and last name, your mailing address, your email address, and your phone number. And here's an example. Number 2, education. This section should be included right after your personal information so it can be found quickly. Make sure that you write your education in reverse chronological order, meaning that your most recent education should be listed first. Include your undergraduate, graduate, and medical school education, but high school information doesn't need to be included. If you haven't completed your medical education, you can include your anticipated completion date instead. Be sure that this section has the following items: the name of the school, the program you attended, the degree you achieved, the year you began and completed your degree. And here's an example. The third section is clinical experiences. List your medical clinical experiences in reverse chronological order with the most recent experience first. Be sure to include clinical experiences that are relevant to the program that you're applying to, and make sure that they showcase the abilities you developed in these roles. Be sure this section has the following: the organization or institution name, the city and state, the position title, and the date the position was held. It's important here to use action words to summarize your roles and responsibilities. And try adding more depth to your entry by including aspects such as experience setting, so whether that's a hospital or a clinic, patient population, whether that's children or the aging population, clinical issues, and teams you worked with, such as nurses or doctors. And here's an example. Number 4, research experience. List your research experiences in reverse chronological order, again with the most recent experience first. This section should have the following: the organization or institution name, the city and state, the position title, the date the position was held. And again, you should use action words here to summarize your duties, accomplishments, and successes. And here's an example. Number 5 is publications and presentations. This section should include any presentations you were involved with, whether you were giving a presentation or if you contributed to the visual work. In addition, if you've written or contributed to any published articles, books, or research papers, list them here in this section. Make sure that you use the bibliographic citations in the format that is acceptable for your field of study. If a paper has been accepted for publication but hasn't been published yet, you can list this as forthcoming. Make sure you include the title of the presentation, the conference name, the location of the conference, the date of the conference, and a brief description of the content that you contributed. The 6th section is volunteer experience and extracurriculars. In this section, it's important to list your most significant extracurriculars and volunteer experiences. Make sure that you prioritize including experiences that were valuable and demonstrated long-term commitment instead of a one-off activity. Be sure this section includes the following: the organization or institution name, the position title, the date the position was held, and again, use action words to summarize your duties, accomplishments, and successes. Number 7 is the awards and scholarships section. This section should include any relevant awards or honors you've received during both your undergraduate and medical school training. So this would include scholarships, grants, teaching assistantships, and even being listed on the dean's list. Instead of writing in reverse chronological order like the other sections, you can actually write this section in order of importance to highlight the most impressive achievements first. Make sure you include items that will help your candidacy as opposed to listing every and any award or scholarship that you've ever received. Be sure this section includes the name of the honor or award and the date that you received the honor or award. Now I want to cover a few optional sections. So these are sections that obviously aren't mandatory, but they're optional for you to include depending on what your skills or interests or experiences are. So the first section is interests and activities. You can include hobbies, interested, and skills that can be beneficial as it shows that you have interests outside of medicine and are a well-rounded individual. Make sure that you include the name of the interest or hobby and a brief explanation of participation. And here's an example. The next optional section is professional memberships. So this is where you can include any memberships to professional associations that can highlight your continual interest in medicine. Be sure that you include the name of the association and the years of your membership. Here's an example. The next optional section is languages. So if you possess reading, writing, or verbal skills in any additional languages other than English, include them in this section as a way to show that you are a unique candidate. So be sure that in this section you include the language and the level of skills in appropriate categories. Here's an example. Another optional section that you can choose to include is leadership experiences. So any founding roles or formal leadership training can be included here to strengthen your CV. In addition, participation in student organizations, projects, or even experiences abroad can be included if they can demonstrate commitment and add value to the residency program that you're applying to. Include the organization, institution, or the training, the dates involved, your relevant skills and accomplishments. And here's an example. Okay, so as promised, here is a full example of a CV for residency. Look through the sections to see how the student used action words to begin each bullet point while making sure to include 2 to 4 bullets in each section. The formatting is excellent and they used bold and italics to highlight sections and positions, and they also included some optional sections that were relevant to them, such as leadership and memberships. Have a look through for another minute or so to see the level of detail that should be included in your CV for residency. Of course, if you have other relevant areas or experiences, be sure to include them. Just because they weren't listed here doesn't mean that it's not a good experience for you to list. Hopefully this video will serve as a tool for you to reference when you're filling out your CV for residency. So please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Are you stuck with filling out a section in your CV? If so, let me know in the comment section and I'll be sure to get back to you with my recommendations. If you'd like us to help you with your residency application, click on the link either above or below this video to schedule your free initial consultation. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next time.